Wolverine versus Beast. We are currently in the Krakoan era of X-Men, in which they have an island all to themselves where they have their own nation, their own rules, and their own Black Ops organization. And who leads that Black Ops organization? Beast. But something snapped within Beast. Something has driven him crazy. He has turned into a variant of Dark Beast, plotting against the X-Men and plotting against Wolverine. After using Wolverine as a slave, literally wiping his memory so he would only do what Beast wanted, Wolverine finally slaughtered his longtime friend. But in this world of X-Men, they are able to revive themselves from the dead. And Beast revived not only himself, but many versions of himself. It is time for Wolverine versus Beast to hit a new level, a Wolverine versus Beast army level. Can Wolverine take out Beast? Can he save the entire X-Men population? This is Comicstorian. I read comic books to you in an audio drama, allowing you to know what you should be picking up over at your local comic book store. And today we're going to be covering Wolverine 31 to 35. Beast stares out over the horizon, standing upon the skull of the Point, the base of the X-Force. Having recently been resurrected after Wolverine killed him, Beast is now reflecting on everything that he's done, and he regrets none of it. He knows that all the bad that he's done has been for the betterment of mankind. He sighs, heading back inside, where he activates the failsafes that he put into place. The Point rumbles around him as it begins to stand, and it gets up, revealing that the Point was actually a massive kaiju with the skull on the top of it. The Krakoan birds fly away as the massive monster steps away from the island, sinking into the deep ocean and disappearing beneath the surface. Meanwhile, over in DC, Wolverine is standing over the body of the dead Beast. "It's over. Beast is dead," Wolverine tells Sage over her comms, and she nods, informing him that Jeff Bannister, having recently been shot by the formerly alive Beast, won't be alive for much longer. "Get him to Krakoa. I'll be right behind you," Wolverine says, but as he turns back to Beast's body, it begins to twitch. The head begins to split open as a fungus sprouts out of his body, and the monster snarls as it gets back to its feet. It takes a swipe at Wolverine, but he dodges out of the way, cursing himself for not realizing that Beast would booby-trap his own body. The monster crushes Logan against a tree, so he brings his claws up, cutting through Beast's neck. He then holds up the fungal infected head, staring at the creature as it continues to grunt at him. Meanwhile, beneath the ocean, the Point kaiju is walking through the darkness of the muddy depths. And that's when a warning begins to buzz on Beast's controls as the US submarine drifts towards him. The kaiju turns, reaching out a massive hand to the warship, and he grabs the sub, ripping it in half, killing all of those aboard. With this done, Beast gets up from his controls. His work isn't finished. While X-Force is quietly working in the shadows, Beast's new task will be even more clandestine. He steps into another room and activates the other Beast clones that he created, and in moments the clones have stepped from their tubes and they begin to dry off, placing their glasses on their faces. "I'm sorry that we're meeting under these circumstances, Beasts, but shall we get to work as one?" They all nod and smile at him, agreeing unanimously. Back on Krakoa, Jeff has been brought to the Healing Gardens, where he is being worked on. Logan heads to the hatchery, where he demands to see all of Beast's backed up memories. "Logan, I love you, but are you sure you know exactly what that means?" Hope asks him as she leads him into the control room, explaining that the mind doesn't record things in a straight line, but in an endless loop. "Just let me get the intel. If I need Jean to." Logan begins to growl, but Hope interrupts him, shocked to discover that all of Beast's memories, they've been wiped clean. The X-Force comms suddenly come back to life, and Black Tom informs the team that Point has disappeared. "What's happening?" Black Tom asks, but a new voice answers him. "What's happening is a reckoning, Black Tom," Beast says. "Yes, you heard right, it's me. The reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated," Beast says, telling his former team that he hasn't stolen the Point, he's merely taken it so that he can do what needs to be done, and that they should all consider themselves terminated from X-Force. "This will be my last transmission. You would be wise not to seek me out or attempt to interfere in any way with my work. That work is work that needs to be done, without meddling or compromise. It would be easier for me not to do any of this, but I feel I must, for the good of all of mankind. Beast tells them, walking through the point, past the table of beasts that have already begun to formulate their new plans. He steps into the clone room, where we find tanks of Wolverine clones have already begun to work. X-Force is no more. I will call this new program the Weapons of X, Beast says as he finishes his comms. Later, on the estate of the Lord Stewart of Scotland, the Lord is hunting for a stag, discussing with his porter of how he's purchased the healing flowers of Krakoa on the black market, refusing to bend the knee to those dirty mutants. He raises his weapon and fires into the fog. Moving forward, he steps over the stag's body. Ha! You'll make a brilliant trophy on my wall, won't you? He says with a smile, but he's surprised to find that the animal has large claw marks slashing across its body. He turns back to his porter, but is shocked to find the man has collapsed on the ground. His guts spilled from the claw wounds in his body. The fog seems to part, and 5 Wolverines begin to close in around him. You! I recognize you! You're one of them, aren't you? I shan't be intimidated. Go back to your filthy island. Moments later, the squad of Wolverines stalk to a nearby cliff. One of them lifting the Lord Stewart's head and tossing it into the ocean, where it sinks down in front of the massive Point Kaiju. The living base of the Weapons of X breaks through the surface of the ocean, allowing the Wolverines to return. Well done, Wolverines! One of the beasts says, motioning them to a room for debriefing. On a catwalk above them, the Prime Beast watches with satisfaction. Back in Krakoa, Wolverine walks into the meeting room of the Quiet Council, the fungal-infected body of Beast on his shoulder. The council is about to adjourn, but he stops them. Sit tight, bubs, he says, tossing the body into the center of the room. Xavier stands, wishing to know what happened. He reads Logan's mind and is shocked by what he learns about Beast and his actions. You gave him carte blanche, Logan growls, ordering the council to fix what they've done with Beast and X-Force, and he turns to walk out of the room. Logan, where are you going? Xavier asks, and Logan looks over his shoulder, popping his claws for emphasis. Hunting. Back on the Arctic Ocean, Maverick stirs his submarine through the Krakoa gate, telling his men how thankful he is that X-Force is a mess right now, so there's no chance of them getting caught stealing more of the Krakoan flowers to sell to the UK lords. We're all clear? Maverick asks his radar operator, and the soldier nods. Yes, sir, we're clear. Nothing in the vicinity except a lonely iceberg. But that man is unaware that that iceberg is actually the skull of the Point. The trio move through the sub, unaware that a squad of Wolverines are already crawling alongside the outside of the ship. 2 of the soldiers are moving away from Maverick, but they stop when they see the glass smashed in from one of the portholes. Is this something we should be concerned about? He asks his friend, but the Wolverine descends upon them from the shadowy pipes above. He slashes through them in seconds, and Maverick heads into the galley, but stops as he sees the carnage and the rest of his crew being killed by Wolverine. Logan, this isn't how we treat each other, man. Not after all we've been through, but if you insist, Maverick says as he activates his helmet, drawing his gun, firing a burst into Logan as the mutant launches at him. Maverick dodges back as Wolverine's claws slash through his chest. I'll keep shooting as long as it takes. Stay down and let's talk about this. Maverick growls as the Wolverine falls into a bloody pile. It's just flowers, man! Say something! Maverick shouts at the Wolverine clone, but the rest of the squad arrives, tackling Maverick from behind. Outside, the Point grabs hold of the sub, ripping apart the sides so that the ship begins to flood with water. And inside, Maverick continues to fire, dodging out of the way of Wolverine's claws. You're him, but you're not him. You got his claws and his stink, but not his eyes. He never would have allowed this. Maverick snaps as he drops another magazine and reloads, but the sub is already beginning to fill with water, and the rest of the Wolverines turn and rush for the exit. From the bridge of the Point, Beast watches as the sun begins to sink. How did we fare, Beast? He asks his team, and the Beasts inform him that Maverick's Merc operation was shut down and they only lost one of the Wolverines. Beast nods. Then ready the salvage team, Beasts. The only bodies we leave behind are those of our enemies. But what Beast is unaware of is that Maverick is already swimming away from the downed sub, the Wolverine clone that was left behind in his grasp. The Point Kaiju stands over the sunken Marine. While inside, Beast Prime explains to the other beasts in Wolverines that they must recover the body of the fallen Wolverine. The Wolverine you left behind compromises our secrets. Beast explains, looking at the other beasts and ordering one of them to join the team of Wolverines in searching for the subs. The beasts all look shocked, and one raises his hand. Pardon me, beasts. I wonder if you misspoke just then. You want one of us to attend to recovery? The beasts ask, and the Prime Beast nods, turning away. Indeed, Beast, and thank you for volunteering. Outside of the Point, Maverick has deposited the Wolverine body within the coral. He turns back watching as the ship exits the Point, and he heads for his sub. Crap. Looks like they're coming back, for me or for you. That's a good thing, actually. Who wants to tuck tail and run when we can get a sweet dose of revenge? Maverick says as he prepares his weapons. I like that sub. I paid a lot of money for that sub. Time to go collect some debts owed. And with that, he begins to swim towards his sub. Beast and his squad of Wolverines enter the sub and begin to spread out, looking for their fallen comrade. One of the beasts swims past a corpse, and Maverick sits up, firing a blast through the clone's skull. Miss me? Maverick growls. One by one, the Wolverines are taken out as Maverick makes his way to the engine room of the sub. Beast swims there as well, finding a Wolverine body floating. Ah, there you are! Don't worry, we'll have you out of here in no time, Beast says, but he looks up, finding a bomb strapped to the engine of the sub. Oh dear, he whispers, and the sub explodes, the blast ripping through the surrounding coral and knocking the Point off balance. Damn it all! Prime Beast shouts as his meeting with the other beasts is interrupted by the shockwave. Maverick begins to swim away, managing to get his Wolverine clone and disappear into the darkness of the ocean. Elsewhere, Jeff sits up in the healing gardens, tumbling off his bed, finding his daughter's backpack sitting nearby. Not her. Not Maddie. He gasps, and he turns as he hears his daughter's laughter, and he sees her playing with Black Tom. He rushes forward, hugging his daughter, and the two share a moment before he turns to Black Tom. Where can I find him? Wolverine. Jeff knows that he needs to help his friend. Meanwhile, off the coast of Greenland, Maverick slips inside of one of his many safe houses. He walks down and throws his Wolverine clone into a cage. Make yourself at home. Try not to piss on the carpet, he says as the clone begins to come back to life. Maverick then begins to sense someone next to him. He begins to turn, but the adamantium claws are pressed against his throat. You seemed to enjoy chucking me in there a little too much, bub. Logan growls. He retracts the claws, stepping back, with Maverick demanding to know what's going on. Beast went rogue is the short answer. He's after everyone and everybody who crossed Krakoa, figuring that might include you, Logan says as he begins to go through the safe house, looking for something to drink. Logan steps up to the cage, explaining that Beast has been using clones of Wolverine to do his dirty work, but he made them primal and savage. Maverick nods, taking a sip of his beer. So where are we headed? He asks, and he shakes Wolverine's hand, promising to help Logan end Beast's reign of terror. The army of Beast's work continues, though, with their Wolverines hitting a tanker ship carrying medicine to the UK. With the ship destroyed, the government has no choice but to make a deal with Krakoa for their healing flowers. He turns back to his group of beasts, thanking them for all their hard work before walking out of the room. The beasts look at each other, and they continue their discussion, talking about how they don't like the way Prime Beast treats them. One holds up his eyeglasses, pointing out that the Prime Beast made them all nearsighted as a way to be better than them. We would be better as a true collective of captains, one points out, and they all nod in agreement. But they remember that they can't do anything while Beast is in possession of the Cerebro sword. As long as he has that, we are disposable to him. They all agree. Meanwhile, Jeff has returned to the CIA headquarters in Langley. He goes to his station chief, demanding the resources to hunt down and end Beast. I'm sorry, you'll bring in X-Force's former director of intelligence, who is operating independently from Krakoa and is now considered a war criminal? She asks, and Jeff nods. The woman is surprised, finding out that Jeff had requested a quiet desk job while he took care of his daughter's help. Jeff glares at her and nods. That was before I got righteously pissed off. A short time later, Jeff is standing on the deck of a battleship in the northern Atlantic Ocean, briefing his strike team on the Point's possible whereabouts. Let's move! I want all jets in the air ready to drop their payloads, he shouts as the pilots scramble, Jeff himself boarding an attack chopper as he prepares to command the mission. Keep in mind, we're not just focused on the Krakoan kaiju, but also hostile mutants who might be in the vicinity. The strike group takes to the air, but it doesn't take long for the commander to call to them, letting them know that there are 2 mutant hostiles in the area in a speedboat. Jeff looks down at his display, noting that one of them looks like Wolverine. Looks like a Wolverine clone. Blow them out of the water. Meanwhile, actual Logan and Maverick are in a speedboat, unaware that death is about to rain down upon them. The boat continues to cruise along, with Maverick telling Logan that they'll drop a bunch of sonar drones. If he's down there, we're gonna find him, Maverick promises, but Logan looks up cursing as he sees the US fighter jets launching missiles at him. Forget about worrying about what's below, Mav. We got trouble above to deal with first, Logan shouts as he takes the wheel. Maverick shifting into the passenger seat and activating his boat's defenses. Anti-air launchers activate out of the back, shooting down the incoming missiles. With that done, Maverick grabs a hold of a rocket launcher, opening fire. If you had one of those jets, things are going to get even more complicated for us, Logan growls. But Maverick nods. I disabled the heat-seeking tech. If they get hit, it's their own fault. Now get us some cover. Logan heads towards a nearby iceberg, avoiding the incoming fire as much as possible. And he grabs a hold of the radio, beginning to shout over all frequencies. Listen up, you turds! It's Wolverine and Maverick, citizens of Krakoa. We're not your assumed target. We're not in league with Beast, if that's who you're after. From his command chopper, Jeff grabs a hold of the radio. Logan? He asks in surprise before ordering the fighters to peel away. Jeff then orders his pilot to put the chopper down on a nearby iceberg, and he jumps out to talk to his old buddy. They go back and forth for a moment until finally, the Point Kaiju rises out of the water, throwing them all away. The jets come back in, buzzing low, opening fire, but the Point Kaiju raises one of its massive hands, firing an energy blast that cuts through the fighters. It then turns its massive skull to glare at Wolverine before sinking back into the ocean. With that, it creates a massive whirlpool. Logan manages to get to his feet. He turns to see an unconscious Jeff being sucked under. Jeff! Logan shouts as he leaps into the water, trying to save his friend, but the water is churned up and Logan loses him in the murkiness. He breaks the surface to find Maverick waiting on the patch of ice. We gotta find him. I'm going back down there. But Maverick shakes his head, holding out his hand. Logan, no. He's gone. I'm sorry, but he's gone. It's later that the two of them are sharing a drink in a bar in Norway, talking about the next move, when suddenly the door bursts open. Food and drinks scatter as Logan pops his claws and Maverick lifts his massive gun. One of the Wolverine clones is looking at them, its hands raised to show a small device. Bomb! Logan shouts, and Maverick opens fire on the clone, dropping it with a burst. Meanwhile, Logan leaps through the air, screaming for everyone to get back as he lands on the bomb. Everyone pauses, and Logan finally looks up. Kind of expected your guts to be decorating the walls and ceiling by now, Maverick notes, but Logan leans back, revealing that the bomb was actually a message. A hologram of Beast appears, offering to meet with Logan and Maverick to discuss a prisoner exchange. Beast explains that he saved Jeff Bannister from the icy waters and will exchange him for the two Wolverine clones that Maverick and Logan possess. Eventually, Mav and Logan return to Maverick's safe house, discussing what they should do. We need another move, Logan growls. Maverick nods, pointing to the cage, where the two Wolverines are pacing back and forth. We might have one, Maverick says, pointing out that the two clones have started forming words and making small sentences. Huh, they weren't talking before, Logan muses, and Maverick explains that he ran some tests. The clones' brains have begun to heal from whatever Beast did to them, which means that Beast has surrounded himself with an arsenal that might turn on him at any moment. Later, as the Point heads towards the agreed-upon meeting location, they pass a section of coral, unaware that X-Force, having been brought in by Logan, lies in wait for them. Beast is minutes away, and so are we, Sage says over the comms as the team pulls on their Krakoan-grown underwater gear. Above the surface, Logan nods his head, tugging on the leashes that hold the two Wolverine clones. Appreciate the assistance on this one, Sage. I know I've been MIA from X-Force lately. Mav and Logan look over at the stormy ocean as the massive skull of Point pokes out of the water. Are you sure about this? Mav asks, and Logan shakes his head. No, but it's the best move we got. The Point begins to stop before them, the jaws of the skull opening wide, revealing a group of beasts and Wolverines, pushing a bound Jeff before them. Meanwhile, X-Force has broken the surface behind the Point, and they've begun to scale it, slipping inside quickly through the side of the organic monster. I'm so pleased that you came. Now, if you'd kindly hand over my soldiers, Beast says to Wolverine as another Beast holds an umbrella up for him. Beast pushes Jeff forward. How do I know you won't slaughter us all as soon as you get your pets back? Logan demands, and Beast offers his hand, promising a gentleman's agreement. Inside, X-Force has begun to move, with Laura and Omega Red cutting their way through the Beast clones. They step into the Wolverine cloning room and stare at the vats growing a series of Logans. This freak has built his own version of the hatchery! Laura hisses. Domino nods, stepping up, beginning to plant bombs. Let's break some eggs. Outside, Logan nods to Maverick, who holds up a document and asks Beast to sign it. Sign this armistice, and we'll forward it to the Quiet Council, Maverick says, and Beast grumbles, taking the data pad, reaching down, pulling out his eyeglasses. I can't help but feel as though you're stalling. Jeff suddenly turns, shouting to his friends. Glasses! He doesn't wear glasses! Jeff shouts, and Logan growls, popping his claws, but instead of attacking, he whirls, cutting the Wolverine clones loose. They bellow in rage, rushing at Beast, cutting into him fast. Maverick draws his pistol, blasting the control collars off of the other Wolverines, and they immediately turn on their captors. Inside, the members of X-Force continue to move through the point, cutting through the Beast clones as they find them. And they finally arrive inside of Beast's private quarters, with Domino rushing forward to plant a charge. The door blows open. Inside, we find him and the weapon that makes this whole operation possible, the Cerebro sword, Domino says as they step through the smoke, but the room is empty and the sword is missing. Yeah, maybe we should try an alternate plan, such as shaking a tree bag and stating, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Deadpool notes, but Beast rushes out of the shadows, using the sword to cut Deadpool in half. Well, crap! Deadpool shouts as his top half slides to the floor. Beast slashes at Domino before flipping away, the door sealing behind him. Laura and Omega Red try to cut through it, but their weapons have no effect. We've still got a shot. One of us managed to make it out, or part of him anyway. Domino says that she holds her wound, motioning to Deadpool's legs on the floor. Outside, Beast is rushing through the corridors as Deadpool walks on his hands in hot pursuit. Beastie, what's your rush? I just want to talk, he said unconvincingly. Deadpool shouts as he rounds the corner. Don't run from me, Beast! Be the bigger person! Okay, no more short jokes. We wouldn't want to offend Wolverine, Deadpool says, and Beast finally whirls around as Deadpool leaps into the air, grabbing a hold of him, drawing his swords. Outside, Logan grabs a hold of a Beast, throwing him to the ground. We're only trying to protect mutant kind! Can't you see that? Beast asks, and Logan growls, burying his claws into the clone's head. You've convinced you're fighting monsters. What you don't seem to realize is that you've become the monster. Logan hisses, looking up to see Maverick and Jeff running. Let's move, Maverick shouts over his shoulder. Inside, Beast is rushing towards his escape pod as Deadpool keeps stabbing. Would you mind if I made a rug out of you for cuddling and drinking champagne in front of a roaring fire? Nude? Wade asks, but Beast grabs him, throwing him clear. Imbecile! Beast wheezes, trying to breathe through his wounds. Sage has taken control of Point Kaiju, using her computers to rip off the skull and throw it to safety as the body explodes from the charges planted within. The whole body falls backwards into the ocean, and beneath the waves, 3 Wolverines swim away, while Beast escapes and disappears into the darkness of the waters. Later, with the whole ordeal over, Sage informs Logan of the disappearance of 3 of the clones, and Prime Beast survives. And she also tells him that she'll be taking over as the head of X-Force. She looks at him, curious if he's going to be rejoining the team. What's next for you? She asks as they stare out over the island and the ocean beyond. And Logan nods as he pulls on his mask, leaping into the jungle. I'm here for you, but I'm done with Krakoa, he calls out. And that concludes the Beast saga. Next up, we've got Wolverine vs. Ghost Rider coming out very soon, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and if you want early access to it, join us over at YouTube memberships. And on that note, I'll see you guys later right here.